I felt that the moderator introduced me but restricted my contribution as a young leader only to the SWAPO party. And I wanted to introduce myself properly because insofar as my contribution here tonight, not only am I speaking as the executive chairperson of the National Youth Council, I'm also speaking as a young person that is below the age of 35. I'm a born free that was born slightly after independence, and I do feel that the perspective that I share is one that resonates with Namibia's young people because it's us that is experiencing the topic that we are discussing here tonight. Not only have I served in the Youth League, but like Mr. Muya, I've also served in NANSO, Namibia's National Students Organization, and in various other youth leadership spaces. And that really allows me to say that with the experience that I have in youth leadership, the position that I'm sharing here tonight is one that should encourage a conversation of the various roles and responsibilities that we have as various stakeholders in the conversation of youth unemployment and how we need to solve it. Mr. Moderator, allow me to share my statement because of the time restrictions that we have. The public lecture delivered here tonight by Dr. Kasera offers an analysis of the multidimensional challenges that are faced by the Namibian society, particularly our young people, a triple cocktail of social protection, inequality, and youth unemployment. These are not challenges we can run away from, and we absolutely cannot deny that inadequate social protection exacerbates socio-economic inequality, which manifests as a lack of opportunity and high youth unemployment. There are, however, numerous assertions made in his lecture that would not fully pass a test of credibility, of which the chief is that there's a serious erosion of our social contract, and that this erosion of our social contract manifests through disillusionment and distrust in government institutions. Besides the fact that most of these assertions that was alluded to by my esteemed learned colleague, I felt that there was very little data that backed up these assertions in the context given of the moral political philosophy. I want to argue tonight, colleagues, that if the Namibian government was failing to provide its citizens with the necessities to shield them against socio-economic shocks, we would be in absolute political chaos and would not be a country widely celebrated for its rule of law and democracy. Is it not? As a country, we know what needs to be done. We know that more needs to be done 33 years after obtaining our democracy. But we have always been accountable and transparent about where we fall short. And that is why Namibia is the first country to have commissioned a targeted review on youth unemployment so that we could determine what are the root causes of high youth unemployment in our country and what government can do about it. Colleagues, this targeted review on self-unemployment was a review that was led by the APRM, which is the Africa Peer Review Mechanism. What does a peer review entail? A peer review allows you to open yourself up to scrutiny by your peers, which is the member states of the African Union, which allowed our government to be critiqued through our processes and our systems relative to youth unemployment. And that speaks to government's ability to ensure that it is held accountable, but that it's also critiqued in a manner that allows itself to come up with solutions to the challenges that we are confronted with. Of course, we have some answers now from that report that highlighted the following: limited access to finance and development to support our SMEs, uncoordinated institutional frameworks, limited financing for youth-targeted programs, and many more policy-focused causes of youth unemployment. Therefore, to argue tonight to say that there's a leadership crisis, I cannot accept as a youth leader, as a beneficiary of these youth programs that the state is providing. Not only because I serve as the executive chairperson, but also because I've benefited from not only myself, but many other young people from youth interventions provided for by the state. And likewise, the APRM report recommends 6 specific policy interventions. 1, the establishment of a youth program coordination and implementation unit. 2, a reform of our education system. 3, legislation on procurement and local content. 4. Establishment of a sovereign wealth fund. 5. Strengthening technical and vocational training. And finally, 6. Strengthening agro-based value chains and value addition for youth. It would take me much longer than 5 minutes, as I was allocated, to go through each of these 6 recommendations in the APRM targeted review on youth unemployment. However, the Environmental Investment Fund, together with the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, and other related government organizations, ministries and agencies, have invested significantly in community-based and national projects which strengthens agribusinesses and value addition, which in turn promotes youth participation. That really speaks to policy intervention number 6. Earlier this year, we established the Sovereign Wealth Fund, now named the Welwitscher Fund. That was policy intervention 5. So to say that we have done nothing and that we have failed in our social contract, I believe is something that must be debated within the context of our systems, our structures, and how far we have come as a nation that is 33 years old, a nation that is relatively young when you compare ourselves to other nations that have done extremely well insofar as creating employment. Within the conversation of oil and gas and other large-scale industries that are emerging in Namibia, government has made it clear that local beneficiation and procurement participation of local businesses will be a priority that government has made clear on numerous platforms. Out of the 6 policy interventions which were recommended by an independent group of countries that came to Namibia and did a study, Namibia has already started with its implementation. To complement the efforts in addressing youth unemployment and ensuring young people remain productive citizens, Namibia also has a 3rd revised national youth policy, of which the National Youth Council is implementing and a custodian of that policy. That policy earmarks the harnessing and capabilities of young Namibians to make sure that they have a meaningful contribution to the growth of our country. And for purposes of tonight, lastly, we're a country that has attracted over 40 million euros from the European Union alone to establish a green hydrogen industry. We are expected to create thousands of jobs with this green hydrogen initiative, which government is championing as a way of leapfrogging into green energy. I leave you with this question: are these symptoms of a country? Are these symptoms of a country whose government is experiencing a failure on its social contract, and thus an erosion on democracy, the rule of law and justice for all? I thank you.